So it's going to be one of those days, no notes, no reading, just a little bit of a summary of some of the things that I've been looking at in the last 6 or 8 months and sort of summarizing, and some of the new ideas, I guess, might even make their way in here, or new learnings, I guess, not really ideas. I'm really enjoying Ilie Ciolo and his mystic writings out of, I think it's Romania, when he refers to our mind as being our local mind, that this private portion of the mind that we use for all of our thinking, for a lot of the noise that goes on in the moment. And it's really the seat of the ego. It's where the thinking goes that accesses the memory and gets the definitions for who we are, gets the history for our actions, and sort of contains the momentum for karma, as it were. And when in his first poem, called The Silence of the Mind, he talks about the necessity, the importance of shutting down, of surrendering. We won't say shut down, we'll say surrender. That we let go of that private portion of the mind where we come up with all of our individual thoughts and ideas. And that we surrender what we find there, which is our definition of self based on likes and dislikes, preferences and aversions, those kinds of things. And that in that silence, that the silence that you find when the small mind or the local mind is quieted, what you find remaining is love, pure love. And so all of the things that bring you to that love, the discipline, the surrender, the discernment, that allow you to turn off that part of the mind. Discerning kind of reduces your interest. As you begin to understand the nature of the world, you begin to understand that there's nothing there for you that isn't temporary and limited, temporary with an expiration date, and that everything you work for to hold on to, you're going to have to continue to work for to hold on to, and to make a continuous effort in that regard. And that after some time you realize this really can't be the purpose of life. It's just kind of carrying a box from left to right, and then right to left, and then left to right, and back and forth. And we all seem to understand that. We have an aversion to that kind of boxed life, that predefined life. But if we live in the ego and in the mind, that's where we live. We live in a very boxed, predictable, uninteresting mind. Quite often it often leads us to a home in a suburb where nothing changes and there is no difference, and sets our life up in a cubicle somewhere where we just kind of walk back and forth from an inbox to an outbox, and we wonder, is this really it? Well, it's not really it. The way to what really is it is within you, and it's not out there. And that this silencing of the mind is key to just being present. That this present, as I've learned from the Old Testament and the Christian Bible, the name of God is the I am, the here and now. And that to experience the here and now, uncolored or unanalyzed by the local mind, is to experience the divine. And in that silence of mind, what expresses itself is big mind. And big mind is that universal mind, the mind of the divine. There's no calculation or thought there because it's all known there. There's no analysis necessary, no contemplation or rumination necessary. And when one is living in big mind and the local mind has been silenced, that manifestation is pure love. That manifestation is wisdom. And it's not a knowledge that's accessible as such. You see, in local mind, we keep all of our knowledge stored in memory, in little boxes of relativity there in the mind to draw out when we need it. But the nature of God knowledge, the nature of big mind knowledge, is that it's available spontaneously in the moment as it's needed, that you don't have to know how or why. It's just an isness. And to help you understand that, think about when you open your hand and close your hand. Do you know how that's done? Do you have to know the mechanics of the muscles and the nerves and the blood? Do you have to supply all of those things in order for that hand to open and close? No. You You just simply think hand open and hand close, and it obeys and happens. And that is divine knowledge. It's spontaneous and present and accessible to you, but does not need to be retrieved or known in the mind sense or in the ordinary sense. So all of these things coming together is very exciting to me. This purification of the mind that is necessary in order to be able to let go. You can't surrender a mind if it's not pure. And by not pure, I mean that you're dwelling in there as an ego self. You have a me and a mine that's housed there. And until you vacate, you can't silence. You can't bring that mind under control. And until you realize yourself to be separate and apart from it, you won't be able to surrender it. As long as you think it's you thinking, as long as you think the thoughts in that local mind belong to a you won't be able to surrender them. They'll stay treasured. They'll stay very important to you. But when you come to realize their nature and to realize that you are far deeper than any thought that the local mind could ever come up with, that you have access to an infinite well of wisdom, not material knowledge, but everything necessary for living a perfect and beautiful life. A life that's not caught in a cubicle and the mundane, but a life that is infinite in every direction that you look. Infinite in love, infinite in beauty, infinite in wisdom, infinite in understanding, infinite in interest. And that is to know the beloved. That is to know the divine. That is to know your nature and to be free.